All right, everyone, we'll start. So, today is the revision session. I hope most of you have covered all the things that are required for the end term, and we'll be going through all the concepts today. So, starting from week one, every single thing we'll be touching. And wherever you have doubts, you have any issues, want more explanation, we can stop there, discuss more on that. All right. So, today might be a marathon session. So, be prepared. A lot to cover today. All right.
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, we'll start with JavaScript. What I'll be doing is I have a slide. I'll share the link, and that has all the concepts that were discussed in that particular week. Okay, if anyone asks, give this link to anyone that asks for the slide.
Yes, sir. Please give.
Okay, share that in the chat, and then we'll go through all each and every concept here. And I've prepared a bunch of questions as well, and we'll be seeing how we'll be implementing and seeing how exactly these concepts pan out in the code. All right. So let me share my screen and let's start. Okay. So this is the slide that we are seeing. So let's start with the week one. All right. So these are the topics covered on the left. You can see the topics covered and some of the important concepts that were there in this particular week. So week one and week two are jam packed with JavaScript concepts. All right. So let's see. The topics covers were backend and front end. Backend, you know what it is backend, the one that is storing all the data, having the business logic and so on. Front end is the one that you're seeing on your browsers, or if you're using application, mobile application, then whatever you are seeing on that on the screen, that is your front end. Backend processes the data, stores the data, all the business logic is there. All right. I hope everyone is clear with JavaScript syntax. What are variables? What data types? For data types, the important ones are basically your string, numbers, objects, arrays. Arrays is not exactly a data type there, but these are most important: string, numbers, objects. Okay, and all how the different operators act on it: multiplication, division, plus, minus, everything. All right, these are the concepts. So let's see what are the important concepts over here. Var versus const versus let. Can anyone give me what are the differences here? Var, const, and let. Yeah, go ahead.
So, var is a when you define a variable with var, it basically creates a global variable that can be overwritten anywhere. Uh, const creates a variable that you can't overwrite, and let allows you to create a variable you can write. However, it is block scoped, unlike var, which is global scoped.
Okay, so almost correct. Var is not global scoped. Var is function scoped. Okay, let me show that. I have something prepared for you guys. Okay, so basically there are three types of declaration in JavaScript, right? So we have var, const, and let. So what is the scope for const and let? Any answers?
Block scope.
Block scoped, right? And I said, as I said, var is function scoped. How? If I define it inside a function, will I be able to access it outside it? Let's test that. So let me define a function. Okay, var pink equal to sky. Doesn't make sense, but anyways. Okay, so this is a function. If I try to print it here, obviously it will work, right? Console.log pink. The variable is pink. All right. So this will work definitely. What if I try to access this outside the function? what will happen? Any answers? This will give me. Okay, is this var pink defined anywhere outside?
Sky.
So you're saying you're getting sky. What did I say just now? Var, when you declare a variable with var, it is function scoped. So it should not print out anything. It should give me variable not defined. Okay. So let's see that.
So
I'll
won't
open
it
up.
be undefined?
When do we get undefined?
So when it's not there, I mean, okay, so that means the
Okay.
variable should be there when the global
Yes.
execution context is getting. Okay, I understood. Sorry, sir. I
Exactly.
understood.
Okay. For those who did not understand this, I will come to that later on when we are going to hoisting as well. Okay, how do I open this? Do I have live server? Okay. So to run this, I have this JavaScript.html. I will run this with live server and have the console on the side. Okay. Is this visible to everyone? Is this okay for everyone? The font size and all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So I did not call this function. Let me call this. So I called this function. So this pink, which was declared using var, is function scoped. All right. If you think about function scope and block scope, think of it as a hierarchy. If something is blocked scope, if something is function scoped, it is obviously blocked scope as well. So that means const is also, if it is declared inside a function, it won't be accessible outside. Same with let. But var is only contained by function. It is not contained by a block. So if I declare it inside a block, it will creep out. It will go out of that block until it gets a function. Okay, until it is contained in a function. Okay, let me run this. You can see the sky from line number 10. This is printed out. But this thing, 14, this is not printed out. Why? Because this variable does not exist anywhere in my scope. In my global scope, this pink variable is nowhere to be found. All right. Any questions?
Sir, just a
Yes.
ting, sir. Are we
Yeah.
and are we discussing PYQs and not theories in this session?
PYQs? No, we'll be just going through all the concepts.
Okay. I'm
Some
from
questions
weeks.
that I've created.
Yeah, I'm
and
from
also
the
concepts.
weeks one to 2 will only, right, sir?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So apart from the scope, this is just talking about the scope. Okay, this was just talking about scope. Scope means where it is accessible, where it is not. So var is function scoped, const and
So
let are block scoped, right?
one
Okay,
thing,
yeah.
if we declare a variable without anything where let const inside a function,
Yes.
then we can access it outside.
Yes, you can access. So that we don't typically do it because that is becomes very weird. It creates a global variable.
Okay,
You declare it anywhere. If you don't use a keyword like let var or const, it becomes a global variable
then we can access it anywhere.
anywhere. Yes, but it
Okay.
is discouraged to do that, and we'll also not ask any questions based on that. All right. So this is just talking about scope. There are certain more things about var, let, and const that are different. Can anyone give me one difference? I think I've already written it down, but still, can I?
So where is hoisted at the top of document, and but let and const does not.
Okay, one more thing here. Not it is hoisted, but not at the top of the document. At the top of the containing scope.
Okay, not
What
document.
I mean, not
Yeah.
document. Top of the containing scope. So in this case, I declared the variable ping
What do
here,
you mean?
right?
What do you mean by the containing a scope, sir?
Yes. So the containing scope means where is this scope valid? Where is this var ping valid?
Inside
Where
the
can I
function.
access it? Inside the function,
Inside
right?
function only.
So it will be moved on top of the function. So if I try to print it here, the hoisting works. And what should I get?
Undefined.
Undefined. Okay, so it is moved to the declaration is moved to the top of the containing scope. The containing scope in this case is this function. If it was defined globally, the containing scope would be the global function or the global execution context. Then it would be anywhere if you try to access it before the actual value has been given, then you'll get undefined. Okay, so we can see that. Let me save it. You can see it's undefined. But if I try to do the same thing above the function, if I do this, what will happen?
Reference error.
Reference errors, because this ping is nowhere in the scope. Okay, is that clear? You can see a reference error here. Fine. So this is hoisting. Var is hoisted, let and const are not hoisted. I mean, they are hoisted, but you don't get undefined. There is something called a temporal dead zone. They go into that, and then you can't access the value of let and const before declaration. All right?
In the global
Yes.
scope also.
Yes. Okay. To create global variables, we can directly define these variables in the global scope. So if I say const yellow, this yellow becomes a global variable, right? Any doubt about that? So you can declare global variables using let const var anything, but they have to be in the global scope. Okay.
Const cannot be defined in the function scope.
No, they can be defined. I'm saying to create a global variable, you have to define it in a global scope.
Okay.
Okay. So one more difference. What is the difference between const and let?
Const cannot change the value. Let can change.
Yes. So if I try to do yellow equal to something else, bird, this is invalid. All right. This is invalid. Let me remove all this. So this is invalid. You can see assignment to constant variable. This is not allowed. What about let? Let we can do that. Okay, that is clear. We can do the same thing with let. All right. One more difference between this let const and var. All right, let me tell you. Okay, so what we can do with let, can you do this? Let red equal to something else now. What a dragon, bird, dinosaur. Okay, can you do this?
No, sir. It has to be
Can
only
you?
red because
Yes.
red has
Yes.
only one reference already created.
Yes. So you can't read what is called redeclaration. Yeah, you can't redeclare the same variable. That's what it is saying. Cannot redeclare this variable red. Same thing with const. You can't do that. But can you do that with var? If I do you have a ping here? Let me bring it here.
Then how we will change the value without let?
Yeah, without let you can change.
Okay.
You can do red equal to something else, but you can't do let red equal to something else. You can't redefine. Yeah, redeclare the variable. This is valid. And what about var? Can we do that with var?
So for var, redeclaration is allowed.
Yes, it is allowed. Okay, so that are the differences. Var pink equal to something else, dinosaur. Okay, this is allowed, but not with let and const. Okay, so these were the differences between let, const, and var. Is everyone clear with that?
Sir, can you please repeat that let can be hoisted or not?
Let and const, let, const, var, all three are hoisted. All right?
Oh, okay,
All three
sir.
are hoisted, but you can't get the value, you can't use the value of const and let before the declaration.
Oh, okay, sir.
They,
Thank you.
yeah, so they go into a space called temporal dead zone. Okay, so if you try to do that, if you try, let me do this. If you try to access it before the declaration, so if I try console.log, yellow here. Okay, if I try to do it, it will give me a different kind of error. It won't give me that reference error. It won't give me a reference error. It will give you a different error. Let me show you that as well. Okay, it still gives you a reference error, but it says cannot access yellow before initialization. So basically, JavaScript knows that your declaration is somewhere down below, but you are trying to use it above. Okay, but if I try to, yeah, if this yellow does not exist, it gives me a different kind of reference error, different kind of error. It says yellow is not defined. All right. So basically, JavaScript knows that you are trying to use it before the declaration. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. No, understood.
Okay. So where were we? Okay. Okay. Apart from these differences, there's one more important thing. Let's see that. Okay. So in this case, what have I written when using global scope? Yeah. So when I'm using this var in global scope, when I'm using this var in global scope, this is the global scope, right? If I don't have any function containing it, then this var is in global scope. If I do that, it also creates a global property. What do I mean by property? Something that is attached to an object. And the object we are talking about in this case is the window or global this. Okay. So what is the difference here? How do you access a property? So property can be accessed by something object dot something, not the big O, maybe object dot autocorrect. Okay, object dot something like age. You access properties using this format. And how do you access variables? Access variables is directly using the name of the variable. Okay. So is everyone clear with the property versus variable? To access a property, you have object dot the property name. To access a variable, you directly name the variable. So the difference is here. So what var does is it also creates a global property. So how do I check it? I check it using the window.age. So what happens is in the window object, it also creates a age property apart from creating a normal age. What is this variable? Okay.
It is both. It is a variable
Yes.
also. It is a global property also.
Yeah. So this case only happens when I'm using var in global scope. This particular
Both will give output same 25.
yes. So age is this is the variable, and window.age is a property attached to window object. So what happens is since I've declared it with var, it gives me this 30 and this also 30. So this is you can call it a side effect of declaring something with var, defining a global property, global variable with var. So there is some kind of error here. What did I do? Yellow. Where did I go wrong here? We
So
have
line 22.
22 yellow equal to bird. Okay. So you can see age was 25 and we have console.log age. I'm getting 25 and window.age also I'm getting 25. And when I change that age, that changes the variable as well as the property. All right. Both changes to 30. But this is only the case with var. If I do with let or const, it does not create that. So what will this give me? It creates a variable, but it does not create a global property. So this will be what will this be?
Undefined.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, you can see 25 undefined, 30 undefined. All right.
And if we put this dot edge,
This is still window. What is this outside anything? It is window, right? So either use this in this case or window, same undefined. But if I have it
where,
with
where,
var,
where then?
then again this is window.
Okay. Okay. Either this or window is the same.
Yes, in global
Sir,
space. If you are using it
can you
inside a function, yeah,
yeah, can you scope it like where edge inside any block, and
yeah,
then
okay, still works because var is function scoped. Block don't matter to var. Okay, same thing.
still it will create a global property?
Yes. Why? Because var does not care about blocks. It only cares about functions.
If it is inside a function, then it would.
Yes. Then it will become a function scoped variable. That time, this will be basically reference error, and this again will be undefined.
It will line 37. It will a new variable, no? Then at that time.
Okay, line 37 that will create that global variable. Yes.
So last 38, 39 would be same.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Oh, not exactly. Not exactly. So I don't want to go into the nitty gritties, but just these examples won't come, but still,
Just this one.
for curiosity.
Yeah.
Function. Okay, I'm making a iffy. Remember iffies?
Yes, immediately. Invoke function.
All right. So this is of creating a function, then immediately invoking it. So this var is a global, will not be a global. It will be a functional variable. Fine. This will give me a reference error. Okay, let's see the reference error first. Okay.
Okay.
Type dragon is not a function. Huh? What happened here? Okay, maybe some semicolon problems. Okay, yeah. So reference error is not defined. Okay, so let me remove that. Okay, so again undefined. This will be undefined. Okay, the age. This still creates a global property, and I just define it without any variable. Var letter con. Still, it's creating a global property.
Okay. Okay, sir.
All right.
Understood.
This detail won't come. Is everyone clear with this? Var, there's one side effect when you use var in global scope. That is, it creates a global property as well. And that's it for this particular piece of code. Okay, is everyone clear with this? I hope so. All right. So next were some questions on the scoping. So if I say var age equal to 30, and we have a function where it should not be age. Let's see. Okay, var x equal to 10, and then if true, var x equal to 20. It does not matter. Okay, fine. This, let me remove that. Okay, there's a function in which we have var x equal to 10, and inside the if statement we have var x equal to 20, and we're console.log x and console.log x over here. What will be the output? Any
Sir, I
answers?
think 20 and 10, sir.
Okay, so this will be 20, right?
20. And another log is 10.
10. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So why? No.
Sir, here both
Let's
x are considered as separate variables.
why? Are they in the same scope or different scope?
Sir, different scope.
How are they in different scope?
Because var can be redeclared, no, sir. So I think
Yeah, but what is the scope of this var? Is it the
Function
same?
scope.
This is the same as this var, right? They are in the same scope.
Yeah.
Are they not?
Okay,
Because
sir.
this is a block. Are you seeing the question here?
Oh, yes, sir.
Seeing the
Now I
problem?
am.
Okay, so since this is a block, this var and this var in the same scope, that what will this do? This will replace the previous one. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so let me run that test var. So you can see 20 and 20. Understood? Why? Any doubt about this? Anyone else? Okay, so I hope this is clear, because since this is a block, it it essentially means this var is, it does not care about this block. It is replacing the previously declared x. That's why, since once it was declared 10, then next up what is happening is declared the same x has been declared as 20. So
And if
when we
it
are
is let,
console.log,
and if it's let,
so let, if it was let, then tell me.
both let,
Yeah, so
let,
tell me what should be the answer.
let.
Here it is pretty simple. It will be 20. The only problem is here.
It will be undefined.
Think about it for a minute. See, let x equal to here, and then let x equal to 20 here. If I go here, is any x in this scope? This particular x was only valid inside this block, right?
Yeah,
That is
block
clear.
is scope. Yeah.
But this x, is there any is there any x in this scope?
Sir, 10 is there.
Yes,
10 is good.
this 10 is there in the scope. That's why it will print out 10 in this case.
The function is scoped, right?
Yes. So if I go here, you can
Here,
see 20
let
and
is the function scoped, no? X.
correct. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine.
Okay. So I hope that makes clear about the
So,
scoping.
sir, even if the value is updated, it is still not accessible.
Even if the value
Like
is updated, can you give me some, like, a point where
here,
to change?
let x is equal to 10. You are
Hmm.
setting 10 as the value.
Correct.
And then in if block, you are again assigning 20 to x.
Correct.
So,
But
isn't it
this is a
updated?
different x. The scope is different.
So,
Okay.
the x outside the if block is
Hmm.
not accessible in the if block.
No, it is accessible. It is accessible. But since I have declared another x, I have declared, if I remove this will log out the previous 10. So it is accessible inside the block. But since I have added one more x with the same name, so what it is doing, it is it is kind of shadowing. It is, the technical term is shadowing. What is it doing? It is, since I have declared it with the same name, now I can't access the previous declared one, since I have all declared a new one with the same name.
Okay,
Okay.
and if I want to assign some other value to x
Hmm.
in the if block,
Yes.
then should I just do x equal to 20? Then it will access the outside x, or
Correct. If I
how?
do x equal to 20, then it will access the outside one. So if I say this, then it will be 20. And here it will be, tell me,
20?
20. Correct. Because since the original, the one that was function, that only got changed. So this will be 20 and 20.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. Yeah.
Fine. Any doubts about this scoping and all? Okay. Let's move on. So again, same question, a little bit different. Same thing. Don't need to worry about this. Okay, so let's go with the const one. Okay, so what was here? So const is block scoped and cannot be reassigned. Constant typically used to declare constants, but the difference here is, not the difference. The important point here is when you're using const to define a object, you can change the object itself. You can attach new properties to it. You can attach new methods to it. Okay, you can change the object itself, but you can't redefine the variable that was declared with const. Okay, so you can see here, when I say const pi equal to this, and if I try to do pi equal to 3, this will give me an error. Should give me an error. Okay, so this will give me an error. Fine. This is not possible. But if I use it as an object, const user equal to an object, then I can modify the object. I can say user.name. So I created another property with the name user, with the name, the property name that was Jane. Okay, so you can modify the object, but you can't do this. You can't redeclare it. You can't say user equal to something else. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've seen a little about what happens when you are defining an object. So you can modify the object, doesn't matter. You can remove elements from the object. You can change the properties of the object. You can modify the object.
We can
Okay.
add
So
another property in the object also, no?
yes. So in this line number 73, we added a property name.
We change the property only.
Yeah, we modified it. So you can see if I
Modified.
print console.log.
Can we add another property in the object?
Yeah. So this is okay. Yeah. So we changed. So if I say
Age. Suppose we want to age. Then
okay. So if I went user.age equal to 30, then also it will work. So if I say user, if I print out user now, it has two properties, name and age.
okay, got it.
Okay. So you can totally change the object.
Properties
much
can be
more?
modified, not the original object.
Yes. Only when you're using const. If you're
Mhm.
using let and var, anything is possible. You can change it to a different data type. Doesn't matter.
In case of const only.
Yes. Okay. So hoisting, we define it with var. But where is hoisting useful? The only use case of hoisting is that when you're using functions. If you're using functions, you can call the function before it is declared. Okay. So here what I'm doing is calling this function. This function is simply printing out whatever number I give it, that number of times. So what happens with functions and specific to function declaration? Do you know what function declaration is versus function expressions? Anyone?
No.
Okay, so function declaration is when you use the function keyword and the function name to define a function. This is called function declaration. And another way would be something like this. Let func equal to function, something like that. Like assigning it to a variable. This is a function expression. Okay. Assigning a function
Okay,
to a variable is called a function expression, and defining it directly with the function keyword is called a function declaration. So only when you're using function declaration, that is, you're directly creating a function using the function keyword and the function name, then only you can use the hoisting to call this function even before it is declared. So you can see in line number 82, I'm calling this function, but it is declared in line number 84 and it still works. Okay, so it still works. It's printed five times. All right. So this is possible because of hoisting. And any doubt about this?
it printed 5 times?
Yeah, it says
Yeah.
5 years. So the console condenses the things out.
Okay. 5 times.
If I say 4 here, that would be better. 4, 5 doesn't matter. So when you see this the blue dot, the dot over here, right? So it means add that many number of times this particular thing has been printed. So that is a console specific thing.
Okay.
Okay, so this only happens in this function declaration. What happens if there is a function expression? I had that as well. I'm not sure where I added it. Okay, yeah, it is in next slide. Okay, so we'll look at that as well. So this is fine. The only thing is you can call a function before it is declared. That is the only point that I want you to take out from this. All right. So next up, what else do we have over here? So we had global property, yeah, DOM interaction, and some other DOM elements. So DOM is document object model. What exactly is this? So if I console.log document, what do you think I will get?
Document will be printed.
Yeah, the whole HTML page. Okay, so if you can see here, when I saved it, you have this, the whole document. I don't know how to exactly show it,
So
but this is
document
the
is the
full
key.
doc.
Document is the keyword.
Yes.
Keyword
You
of
can call it a, you can actually call it a property of window.
okay, window property.
But it is something that is added in your, it is only there in browsers. So only when you open this, not exactly, how do I say? So that this property is only available. So there are multiple ways you can access JavaScript, right? So one would be Node.js directly running on your computers, and one would be your browser console. So only when you're running JavaScript in your browser, then only this document is available to you. Okay, since we have an HTML page, that HTML page you can see using document. So this is the whole document in a JavaScript object. Okay, and since it's a JavaScript object, you can change things around. You can navigate to different parts. You can, what you can do is change things around. You can change the elements and so on. So document would be this full. So this is my JavaScript.html, right? So this full thing is my document. And if I want to just grab hold of the body of the document, I can say, what can I say? Think of document as the whole
Document is
thing.
body.
Yeah, document.body. So that will just grab me this particular element. Okay, so you can see body. The body has a lot of things. All right. So this is the way you can grab things. But this might not be very convenient if you have a long page. So this is just 6 lines of code. If you have like 200 or 2000 lines of code and you want to pinpoint, if you want to get a particular element out of that. So that's where we use certain functions that are provided to us by this document object. So that's where our document.getElement by id comes in. And what does this do? So if I say document.getElement by id and pass in a string, pass in the name, the id of the element that I
ID
want
of
to
the
grab.
element tag. ID of the tag.
E- id, yeah, or id of the tag. Then
Tag,
this
na?
will grab that element. Okay, and now I can modify the element as I want. All right, so this is the way to grab elements from the HTML page. And to create,
Because this is the const element is the object, and we can
yes.
modify the property. Is it so, no?
So what? Yeah. So this element. So if I say ID name, so suppose I have a ID name. Suppose something here, div ID name. Okay. So the ID of this div is ID name, and I want to grab hold of that property. Sorry, grab hold of this particular element. Then I say document dot get element by id name. Now I have that particular element with me. Now I can add a text to it. So suppose element dot inner text, inner HTML, inner text. Let me do that. If I say this, cannot set properties. I did not
So it
grab
did
both
not
ID.
save. So
Okay.
HTML is not saved.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so now if I go to here, to this, you can see hello. It was previously blank, but using JavaScript, I grabbed that element, grabbed that div, this particular div, and I changed the content. I changed the inner content of that. So that's
Which one
what
is
we
the
can do.
inner text?
Inner text means something that comes up in here. So if I type something over here, that
Okay, it
means
was
that is the
blank
inner text. Yeah,
previously it was
previously it
blank.
was blank. Yes,
Write
and I
something.
grabbed it and
Write something
yeah.
here previously.
Okay, so this is HTML.
Okay, and then
So what will it do? Then
it will change.
again it will change it to hello.
Okay, if you don't change, then it will come previous one.
Yeah, if I don't do anything over here, if I say nothing over here, if I remove this, it will just be the previous thing, HTML. All right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you can change things around using JavaScript. That's how we used to do
This
it
is
in
inner.
the.
This is inner text, and what is this inner HTML?
So if you want to create another HTML inside it, so this is just a string, right? If you want to have tags and all, so if I want to have h1 here, and I
Okay,
want to behave it like a HTML,
okay, this one
then
is
you have
HTML.
to use inner HTML.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it will be treated as a string.
Okay,
Okay. So this is how you grab elements from the HTML. And another would be to create elements. To create element, there is another again document dot create element. So that creates a new element. Element means basically a tag, and you can fill that tag with everything you want. So using inner HTML, or if you want to have styling and all, everything you can do. We won't go into much detail. It's just that to create an element, you can use document dot create element and the tag name. Suppose h1. I want to create an h1 element, so I will type in h1 over here. All right.
so where it will be created in the HTML?
No, it is just created in JavaScript. Right now, it is not attached anywhere.
Okay, or in the
To
original HTML, index
yeah.
Vue.html, it will not go there, right?
No, it
Mhm.
is just created in JavaScript. It is not attached to the HTML in any form. To
Oh,
attach to an element, there's another. You can have the element dot append child or append. So append child means it will append as a child.
mhm.
So inside the element, you will create a new element. So now this is what it attaching my created element to the HTML.
Sir, can you and please explain the append the child once, sir?
Okay, append child. So what are we doing here? We are grabbing this element. Okay,
Yeah.
grabbing this element by the ID name
Okay. Yeah.
and creating a new element. So
Oh yeah.
suppose my tag h1.
Yes, sir. I just understood till that, and but
Yeah.
I don't know what is append the child does. Can you please explain that part?
Yeah. So append child basically means append this element, the new element, as a child of the element on the left. Okay. So what this will do? So this is the this is the element that we are appending
Yeah,
the child to.
yeah,
So
yeah.
child means what is it? Something inside it. So it will create a h1 tag, something like this over here as a child, append child.
Okay. Okay,
All
sir.
right.
And yes, sir. And understood. Thank you.
Okay. So this is how you add things to the document, HTML document. And you can also add some event listeners. Event listeners are some functions that happen when you have certain kind of events to it. So the simplest one would be a click. So when you click this element, so I'm attaching an event listener to the element. So element dot add event listener. So the element dot add event listener and the name of that event. Click is one of the simplest event. Other ones would be a lot of different things: double click, focus, unfocus. A lot of different events are there, but we'll just look at click. So whenever we click this, what will happen? This particular function is fired. All right. So according to this is just console.log, but you can do a lot of things over here. So you can change the color whenever you click it, and something like that. Whatever feels fancy to you, you can do that. So this is how you add events to certain elements. Is that okay? Mhm. All right.
Okay, sir.
So anything else remaining over here? Okay, so we covered all the important concepts over here. Any doubt about all these? There was some other things as well. Coercion. I think I have mentioned it, but later on. Okay, and these things you have to be thorough about. How to write loops, how is the if else statements, arrays and all. We'll discuss more in week 2. Any doubt about all the important concepts over here? Okay, so let's move on.
So just one question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was late. So just one question in the add event listener. So there is one more
Hmm.
property which is true. After the console.log, there is comma comma true. It's there. So sir, my question is, let's say we have
Comma
element
true
inside
where?
element. So over
Hmm.
here true. We have a true. I mean we have a boolean right after that the
Yeah.
options. So sir, my question is by default, what is the value first? Second is if we put true, that means from the child component to the parent component would go, or the first parent component would be taken and then the child component would be taken. Let's say we have a table and we have table
To be
rows
honest,
and
you'll
table
have to search
details
that
we have.
yourself because yeah. So I've not used this a lot. So I don't have any
Ah,
idea about how this boolean works over
okay,
here.
okay, sir, no
Okay,
problems,
so
no problem.
okay, all right. So let's go over to the week 2 concepts. We have collections. Collections are a collections bunch of different things put together. So our collections are arrays, objects, sets, etc. Sets we have not covered much. So we'll be only focusing on arrays and objects as collections. Arrays are what? Collections of elements. Objects are key value pairs. All right. Destructuring and spread. We'll look more into this. And some of the important array methods. So how to use find, replace, sort, filter, map, reduce, all these functions, array methods. Those are very important. We have object.keys, object.entries. Anyone knows what all these do? Object.keys, how to use them. Okay, anyways, we'll look at it. And one question here: what is callback function? What is higher order function? Any answers about that?
So function takes another function as a parameter, that is higher order function.
Yeah. And what is a callback?
Callback, I'm not sure, but it was like we are calling one function in the another, something that was the case.
Set timeout like the callback function, set timeout.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Or
No.
set interval.
So basically, these are two different things of the same coin. So if you say of a higher higher order function is something that takes another function. That another function is called a callback. What function it takes? How higher order function takes a function as a parameter, right? So what function it is taking, that function itself is called a callback. So in set timeout, you have a arrow function, right? Inside it, most of the times. So
Yeah,
that arrow
almost.
function is the callback, and set timeout is a higher order function. All right. Okay. I hope this is clear.
Example.
Okay. Pretty simple here. And let me remove that. So you have a set timeout, right? Set timeout, and then do what? Console.log.
It is not necessary that always it will be an arrow function. It may be a regular
Yeah, it
function.
may be a normal function. Typically, to make it concise, we use arrow function.
Yeah.
Okay, so at 0 seconds, this will fire up. Okay, so set timeout taking another function as a parameter. Okay,
Mm.
so set timeout is a higher order function, and the function it is taking, this particular function, this is called the callback function.
Mm.
Okay, same thing, two different ways to look at it. Fine. All right. Oh, all right, and we'll look at all the prototype inheritance as well. Modules import export, not really that important. And this for loops, how to use for in for off loops, that is also important.
Yeah. Please, this one also exemplify this for in, for off.
All right, and event loop is very important. Promises will be covering in detail. This call stack, synchronous code, and everything. That was anyone has doubt about that? That was explained very well by Abhishek sir. I think he explained all the global execution context and everything related to that. Okay, so let's discuss here important concepts. So the scoping differences we understood. Function declared by where versus let and const. Okay, let's see that. So
Once
functions.
bind a call also once.
Yeah, sure. So as I said before, there are two ways to declare a function. So this is a functional declaration. This is a function expression. Why? Function expressions are functions that are assigned to a variable. Okay, this function expression is a variable, and we have said, okay, this is equal to a function. So that is called a function expression. You can use var, you can use let, you can use const. The difference comes with hoisting. When I use it this way, when I use afterwards, if I use after the declaration of the function, if I call the function, it works normally as expected. Right? No doubts about this, I hope. But what happens when I try to use it before the declaration? Does anyone have any idea? Any guesses? Any guesses? You can guess. No harm in guessing. Okay. So
Function
as I said,
expression.
yeah, go ahead.
Function expression will be, I think, undefined. And function declaration will be treated defined.
Yeah. So this function declaration, as I said, as we discussed previously,
Yeah.
since it is hoisted, so you can access it before the actual declaration. So this works fine.
Yeah.
Problem comes with this because const is in a temporal dead zone. So how can you use a calling in this? Const, we said the variables declared with const are in a temporal dead zone which can't be accessed before. Right? So we can't do this. This is not valid. You can see some kind of error would be there. Okay, so you can
Reference.
see cannot access function expression before initialization. Okay. What happens if I use var over here? Const and let to do the same thing. What happens if I use var over here? There might be a little bit of guessing over here.
Mm.
What happens with var? It's hoisted. It is undefined before the declaration. Okay, that is clear.
Yeah.
That is fine, right?
It is undefined.
Undefined. But what am I doing over here? If I try to do undefined and then do this, what will happen? if I try to call something that is undefined, it will give me an error. It will say it is not a function basically. It is null right now. So
It is
yeah.
the function
Okay. So
type.
yeah. So it is type error. Function expression is not a function.
Yeah.
But if I try to access it like this, if I say console.log function expression, what would happen?
Maybe it will give function is used before declaration.
No, see, it is var. This is var. This is a function expression. So what happens with var?
It is
It will
hoisted now
print undefined.
Yeah. So it is hoisted and then
and
goes to the
undefined.
yeah. So this will become undefined. So
It will
right now
become-
JavaScript only knows that this function, this particular variable is there. It does not know it's a function as of now. It is null for JavaScript. Oh, sorry, not null, undefined. Okay, so it is undefined. All right, so that's the difference between function expressions and function declaration. With function expressions, you can't access it before the declaration. With function declaration, you can access it before the declaration. You can call it before the declaration. All right. Hope that is clear.
Sir, could you please discuss arrow function also?
Yeah, sure. So arrow functions, how do you declare? You arrow functions, I you can't have a function declaration. Can you have like this? You can't have a they are anonymous, right? So you can't have like this. So you always have to assign it to something. So to use this, either you have to make it a iffy, either you have to do this, in which case that you can't access it before anyways. In this case, this is an iffy. Okay, immediately invoked functional expression. That's where the functional expression comes in. So this is a functional expression and you're immediately invoking. So either you can use it like this, or what typically we do is assign it to a variable. So var or maybe let arrow func equal to this. So now what it is a functional expression, right? We are assigning it to a variable. Is that clear? Now it is a
Yes.
functional expression. So since it's a functional expression, what happens? The normal let const where hoisting rules apply.
Okay.
Okay, so if I try to access it before arrow func, this will be invalid. Okay, reference error. If I try to call it again, this again gives me some kind of error. Same reference error. All right, understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In case of nesting, the
Hmm.
arrow function, one function is a regular function, which is nested and having an arrow function in the regular function.
Yes.
And where this is used, so that I have confusion in that. Okay, where this is used and where
So
this not is used.
okay. So I had actually explained that in one of the week one
Yeah,
or
it
week two
was
answer.
somewhere it is, but I forgot that.
Yeah, so I'll do that again briefly, but I'll do that briefly because if you go
Yeah,
deep into
briefly.
that,
No,
then
not deep.
it,
Just because I forgot
yeah,
that how to
okay,
recognize.
that is
Just
sunken cost. It's get crazier and crazier as if you go deeper and deeper there. Okay,
whatever
so
we do
huh,
learn again and again, now it becomes more confusing.
yes,
But still one time only.
yeah, sure, definitely. Okay, so we did this interactions of arrow and normal functions with bind, call, and apply. Okay, this is also very important. So with
Yeah.
interaction with bind, call, and apply.
Yeah.
So what are these used for? Any answers? Bind, call, and apply. We have a function called normal.
You will share this code, na sir?
Yeah, I will share this.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Okay, so what is these used for? Mind, call, and apply. Basically, they are used to change the context. Context means
Automatically, right?
this.
Right, sir.
Sorry,
Automatically.
automatically. No, I'm not sure what you want. Like, context means the execution context. The this inside a function.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, sir. Understood. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So if you have object, suppose. So if you have an object, the name is. Suppose I write my name. Okay. And I am console.logging this dot name. Fine. Question here. What if I run this function now? What if I run the normal? What will happen? Think what is this when I run this function? When I run the normal function, what is this inside it?
Sir, this refers to object obj.
How will this refer to object? Is this function attached to that object?
So the reference should be given.
But if I directly run it, what will happen here? What will be this?
Global objects.
So, globally, what is this? Window object or the global this?
So undefined, it's not defined.
So this becomes the global this or the window object and dot name. Dot name is not there in that window object. So this will give me undefined, or maybe there might be some name. Okay, so there is some name in there. So let's not have name. So let's have first name, because this name variable is there somewhere. That's why it's creating a problem. So if I say first name, then it says undefined. All right. Is that clear?
You meant to say this, if this object is not there inside the function, then this will be defined globally, right?
So for me, what
Suppose
the question is,
suppose it would have been some object inside the function, normal function. Then
no, not object inside it. So basically, some object was containing this normal function. So suppose inside this object only, I had some other func, or maybe something like that. Okay, and then I console.log this dot fname. Okay, so this particular function, this is a normal function, same as that. This particular function, for this, the context or the object that is containing it, it is a property, right? It is this other function, a property or a method of this object. That's why this is now the object. But for the normal function that I wrote over here, who is containing it? What is the object that is containing it?
no object.
As of now, there's no object, so that is the window.
Window. If
Okay,
it
window or
is no
global.
object.
Okay, so whenever you are using this, think of what object it is currently containing. Okay, what object is containing that function? Fine.
Okay, then so in place of this, we can write obj also.
Yeah. Obj. If you write obj, then it is very clear. Then what are you referring
The
to?
result will be same.
Result will be same. In this also you can write obj, but this will now give a reference to this first name. Okay. So did I call? I did not call. Okay. So if I say obj dot other func, then this particular thing will give me first name. All right. So whenever you are using a function or a method, think of what is calling this function. So what is calling means what is the object through which I'm calling it. So that becomes the this. Okay, so I diverge a little bit just to explain this. So anyways, we were where? We were in the call, bind and apply. So call, bind and apply are used to change the context. So right now the context is global. Okay, for this normal function, this is global. I want to change the context. I want to change this object to something else. So how can I do? I can use normal dot call. You can use bind or call or apply. So bind, let me do that. And you can see now I can give this something. What is the object that I want here? So if I say obj, now when I call this normal function, the this becomes this obj. All right. I'm using bind to change the context, and it takes parameters as well. So if I take x over here, so console.log x, so I can give it the value. So maybe 10. Okay. Is this okay? I'm using normal. Normal is the name of the function. I'm using bind to change the context. Previously, the context or the this was global. Now I'm changing it to object. So now it should print this particular line should print the first name from this dot. So this is what obj dot fname. All right. So
Okay.
some issues over here. Okay, I did not call it. Okay. Important thing over here is this creates another function. So I need to call it. So the return of this is another function. So either you can do this to call it. This sometimes looks weird but works. So now you can see 10 and Aditya got printed out. Or the typical way would be to store it in a variable. So let binded equal to normal bind. Okay.
So
And
what
now you can see
10 was printed?
I did console.log
Oh, console.log.
x. Okay. Why? Because there is a subtle difference between bind and apply. In bind, you give parameters using comma separated values, like something like this 10, 20, and all. In apply, you give this parameter, these arguments as an array. That's the difference between bind and apply. That's the only difference. Okay. So important thing over here is you are changing the context, and this the return of this is another function. So how do I call a function? You store it in a variable and call it using parentheses. Okay, same answer over here. 10 and Aditya. Is it okay? Is bind okay?
This obj context we changed. This obj can be anywhere, either before the function or after the function.
Yeah, it doesn't depend on where the function it should. This should be defined when I say obj. So it can't be after the let binded equal to. It can be anywhere above.
Always it should be before function definition.
Not necessarily. So you can see this obj. What am I using in here? I'm using the normal. This particular function I'm using, and I'm using obj. So what this means is before I'm using all these, they should be defined. It doesn't matter in what order. If I can do it over here as well. Doesn't matter what order.
No,
I'm using these function and obj over in line 145. So it should be defined before that. That's it.
Suppose obj is equal to line number 140 to 142 is after 146.
This one.
Yeah, after 146.
And then this won't work because obj is not defined, right? This particular
previously it should be defined. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I say here. Yeah, so obj is not defined. All right. So this is how you're changing the context. This is a very simple example. You can make it much more complicated using nested things and all. So this is the case with normal function. And same thing with apply. So with apply, you can do. Okay, instead of giving this as comma values, you have to give it an array. So if you have 10 different, you can use an array to give 10 different values, arguments here. Okay, same thing here, applied also. You can call. These are very simple, similar, bind and apply. Only difference, apply takes array, bind takes direct values. Applied is not a function. Something's wrong. Let's see what happened. So these are getting okay. Okay, so applied, even I was mistaken. Apply is directly calling the function. Not sure why.
Spelling is wrong, sir. 146.
146. Okay.
The spelling is wrong. APPL.
I think it is directly calling the function. Okay, so my mistake. So this is actually directly calling the function without the need of storing it. So you can directly call it like this. But okay, let's see. So another thing is call. Like, so we have the function name normal dot call, and then again. So you can change the current object. I'm changing the object to obj, and a list of arguments. So maybe like 10. I'm a little bit confused about the array thing. I'll just clarify this. Okay, I'll just Google it and then check. So that's the thing. Basically, you can change the object, the context, using all these three. Okay, so this was the case with normal functions. What happens with arrow functions? If I say let arrow equal to this, and then I console.log this dot f name. Okay, if I do this, what happens with arrow functions, I think you might not know, is you can't change the context. The context, the this inside an arrow functions is defined when the arrow function is declared. All right, when the arrow function is declared, that's when this is confirmed. And even with bind, call, and apply, you can't change this. So if I try to say arrow dot bind, so just one question: what is this right now? When the arrow function is declared, what is this here? If I say print this here, what will be this?
Window.
It's globals.
Yeah, so global or window. So
Yeah.
at the time of declaration, so this is the declaration line. This for arrow function is fixed, and that is the this that is outside the arrow function. So outside arrow function is global. So this will also be global, and you can't change it. So when you say arrow.bind object, this will not work. It will still give me undefined because window has no f underscore name. Okay, I did not call it. Let me call this function. Okay, you can see it's undefined. Even though we try to change it with bind, it does not change because
Context cannot be
con-
changed of the arrow function.
in arrow functions, the context cannot be changed. And it does not mean that arrow function has always global global this. You can have a different this inside arrow. Can someone give me an example?
obj,
How?
we can define obj inside.
Yeah, we can define inside obj.
Not
So
obj.
suppose
Inside the arrow function, we can define na obj.
inside arrow function, we can define obj. Yes, we can do that. So obj2 equal to obj3 or 2 equal to something. We can do that. But I want to, what I want to do here is I want to have this inside arrow function as the this obj. Can you think of some ways that we can do that? I want to have this as the exact same syntax, but I want to place it in such a way that this becomes obj inside this arrow function.
Means you want to change the context of arrow function.
So see, what we said right now was the arrow functions, this inside the context is fixed at declaration, right? When we declare this arrow function, this context is fixed for arrow function.
We can put the arrow function inside obj. So the calling means the object calling will be obj. So this will reference to obj.
So let's try to do that. If name is this, and not let arrow equal to. Okay, so if you want to do this, so the question here is, what is this when arrow function is declared? When is arrow function declared? When this object is created, right?
Yeah.
So at this point of time, if I say just outside, just think of outside arrow function. What will be this? So if I say a equal to this, what will be the value of a here?
Obj.
That's where you're going wrong.
It's global.
It's global.
Okay, only function create a different context, nothing else. Only functions, normal functions create a different context. Okay, so how, if I say normal over here, normal function.
In what cases you assign the value of the function with equal to sign and with colon sign?
So these are methods. So inside object, so inside object you have to have this key and value pairs, right? Key value pairs. So in this case, the key, the property name is arrow and the value is the function. So whenever you define it in an object, then we are using the colon thing. Why? Because these are key value pairs. And this is this is another short syntax, but this is the same as saying normal equal to function. This is the same as this syntax. All right. So this is a normal function. So normal function changes the context. So if I say console.log this, in this case, what will be this? Depends on how we are calling it, to be honest. So let me try to do this. Let me try to do object dot normal. Okay, if I do this, what will be this here? I hope I'm not confusing you. So very simply, my rule of thumb is whatever, if I'm calling a normal method, whatever is on the left side, who is calling it? That becomes the this.
Yeah, correct.
Can everyone agree to that?
Yes.
If I'm using a normal function, whatever is on the left side, the object that is calling it becomes
normal function. You mean to say the regular function defined with the key name function?
Yes. With
yeah,
the
it is obj. It is obj. It is always
Okay.
obj on the left.
All right. So whenever, and if there's nothing on the left, that means it becomes a global. The this inside is global. Fine. You can take that as a rule, thumb rule. That is just for regular or normal functions. But for arrow functions, what happens is this keyword, the context, is fixed at the declaration. So see what is happening at declaration. Object is being defined, first name is being given, normal function is being defined, arrow function is being defined. When the arrow function is defined, what is this just outside it? What is this just outside it?
Global.
Global. Okay.
Global
Right.
this.
Global. Okay. So at the declaration point, this was global for the arrow. So this will be global. So global dot first name is undefined. That's why this particular way, if I call arrow, it will be undefined. Fine, undefined. Why I'm getting two undefined? Am I logging out somewhere? Okay, let me remove this one. Yeah, so this particular line number 151. Yeah, this particular line is giving me undefined. Why? Because at the time of declaration of the arrow function, this was window object or global object. Okay. So at the time of declaration, how can I place this arrow function so that this becomes the object? Any idea? Okay, so let me do that. So what, since a normal function changes the context, right? Inside a normal function, this is changed. The context is changed. So if I define arrow function over here, so if I say like let arrow over here and console dot log this, what would happen? I mean, nothing would happen here. If I call it over here, what would happen if I run the normal function? At this point, what is the value of this when I call the normal function? What is the value of this? The object, right?
Obj.
Yes. So at the time of declaration for the arrow function, this was the obj. So if I console.log inside the arrow function, this will also be obj. So if I say obj.normal now, it will print out line number 149 will print out obj. All right. So for arrow functions, you have to be extra careful. You have to see at point of declaration, what is the value of this? Okay. So whatever is the value of this, that will be fixed for the arrow function and it can't be changed. Is this clear?
What you mean to say, at the time of declaration, when the arrow function is inside a normal function, then the obj under which the normal function is defined will take the value of this. Is it so?
You are specifying this to this particular case.
Okay.
I was talking in general that if
Another
you see a
example
arrow function,
other than this.
yeah, so just think of this, like if you see an arrow function and if you see a like a use of this inside the arrow function, think what is this outside it. Just think what is this here. That will be the exact same as what is this
Okay.
inside the arrow function. That's it. Simply.
Okay.
Okay. And this here, is that okay, everyone? For normal functions, don't need to worry. Whatever is on the left side, that's this.
Correct.
Only for arrow functions you have to worry about. But one case is that when you're using call, bind, and apply, you can change the context. Fine.
Okay. Okay, we will see
Okay.
call bind again. Abhishek sir has defined it right.
Yeah. Okay. So next up we have arrays. Arrays is a bunch of different elements together in square brackets. Okay, that's arrays. And arrays has a bunch of different functions attached to it that we have to like know at least. So first one, let's look at map. What does map do? Any answers? Okay. So when I say numbers dot map, so it takes a function and for each element it processes that whatever is the return value of this function, it stores that value. So what am I doing in this arrow function? I'm taking the num. This num is one individual element of this numbers array. So I'm taking each number, and how am I? What is the return value? Num into 2. So now this doubled number, this const doubled, will store result of each number that has been multiplied by 2. Right? So take 1, multiply it by 2, and store it. Take 2 multiplied by 2, store it. That's how map works. You give it a function, and whatever is the returned value for that element, that is stored. Okay, so we have console.log doubled, so that will contain all the elements that are doubled. Okay, so you can see now, and let me remove that line 150. So now we have all the elements that are doubled. Okay, similarly you can do like a if you want to do something like +1 num +1, you can have that. Whatever is the return value, that will be stored. So now you'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
And what
Is
is
map
5
okay?
is coming? 5 times.
So this 5 means that is the length of that.
Okay, length of that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, map is clear. Any doubt about map? Pretty simple. You give it a function. It doesn't need to be an arrow function. It can be a normal function as well. And you can define it somewhere else also. You can have something like function multiply and then return 10 into, so it takes a value, so it takes x, 10 into x. So you can define it like this also, map mul. Okay, same thing. So instead of defining it inside the map function, I defined it somewhere else, but it works the same. So basically give it a function, whatever is the return value, it will store that for each and every element. Clear? This is map. We have filter. So filter takes it that number, or takes the array, and you define a passing condition for it. Okay, a test condition for it. So test condition is such that if this test condition, if the return value is true, then that number will be taken. All right. So if this condition, whatever is the condition, that is the return value is true, then that number will be taken. Otherwise, it will be rejected. All right. So in this case, num mod 2 triple equal to 0. So it takes a number, whatever is that number, mod 2 is equal to 0. That means if it's an even number, you keep it. Otherwise, you throw it out. Okay. And all of these are not affecting the original numbers array. It is only returning a new array. That's why we are storing it into a different array. Okay. So numbers, if you still print it, it will still be the same. But now we have this even numbers that are filtered out.
If there is no number filtered, then still it will be the array.
Yeah, it will be an empty array. So if I say
Empty array.
yeah, so if I say like let me return false over here. So for all the condition it will return false, right? And if I try to have console.log even numbers, okay, so you can see it's now an empty array because
Okay.
none of the cases pass the test. So if I say like num mod 3, now I can't find mod. Okay, mod 3 equal to 0. So that means all the numbers that are divisible by 3 should be kept. So only number here is 3.
3.
So now the array will only contain 3. All right, that's filter. Next up we have reduce. Reduce takes, so in all of these we were only giving one parameter over here in the function. Reduce takes two parameters. One is the accumulator. Accumulator is one that like accumulates all the numbers, takes in together. So what reduce does is there's an array, right? So reduce wants to reduce it to one single value. So that single value that will be finally it's called a accumulator, that will be accumulate. So suppose you want to add all the you want to sum all the numbers, right? So there should be something that is summing up. So that is the accumulator, and this is the current number that you're actually if you're trying to add up. And in the second comma we give the value of the accumulator, the initial value of the accumulator. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to sum all the things up, all the elements up. So I'm saying accumulator return accumulator plus current. Okay, so accumulator plus current. So initially it was 0, accumulator was 0, current is the current number, so that is 1. So it will be 0 plus 1. In the next iteration it will be the accumulator becomes 1, 1 plus 2, okay, and so on, 3 plus 4, and so on it goes on. This is the case with summing. If you want to do something else, if you want to multiply all the numbers, you can have accumulator into current. Okay, so whatever you want. The reduce means want to reduce all the elements to one single element. Okay, so this is how you sum things up in an array. Numbers dot reduce.
If it is a string, it is a number, then it will accumulate. Or it is
If it's a
defined for the
string.
number only.
Now, if it's a string, then what happens? What does plus do for a string? Think what plus does for a string. Yeah, concatenate. So it will concatenate it. So suppose instead of numbers, you have names. Const names. Alice. Bob. Okay. Instead of numbers, so let's see what numbers. Numbers are pretty simple. Console.log sum. Okay, if you do that, then you get the final sum. Since accumulator is adding everything up, storing all the added things up, and the return value is adding the accumulator plus the current value. And this 0 is the initial value. So if I change the 0 to 10, then the initial value would be 10. So everything plus 10. Now you see, you get 25 over here. Okay, so typically, if you want to sum it up, it would be 0. And if instead of the numbers, if I put names over here, accumulator, if it's 0, then it will be 0. Okay, you tell me the answer. If it's 0, what will happen here?
So the
Accumulator is
0 would
0.
be changed to string.
Yes. So string 0 plus current. So 0 Alice. Right? 0 Alice. Then 0 Alice Bob at the end. That you'll get. Fine. 0 Alice Bob. Is that clear? So depending on what operation you're doing, that's how you'll get the answer. But reduce finally will reduce it to one single value. And if you don't provide this initial value, the accumulator becomes the first value and current becomes the next value. So that will be Alice plus Bob, Alice Bob. All right. So you can either put in an initial value or don't if you don't want to. Is it clear? Is reduce okay?
Sir.
All right then. Find is also pretty simple. So if you what find does is this is the test case. If this return is true, then it return that sorry, then it returns that element. If this particular value is true, if the return is true, then it gives that number back. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3. For the number 2, we'll have this test case num mod 2 equal to true, 2, true. Then this particular function will return this value 2 for us. Okay, pretty simple. Whichever is the first one that matches, it will return that element. All right. Apart from that, we have a bunch of different ones as well. We have
So
push,
only
pop.
first value will be find.
Yes, correct. Only first value. Okay. So other methods there are push. You know what push does? Array.push. Anyone?
It appends elements, sir.
Yeah, appends at the end. Okay. What does pop do?
It removes the
Removes the last element.
Yes, removes the last element. Unshift. So same thing on the starting side. So it adds to the first element. Shift is remove from the first element.
No, unshift. What does?
Unshift. Sorry. Unshift removes the first element and shifts
first.
at the first element. Okay, same thing as push and pop. Instead of doing at the end, this is doing at the start.
Oh, unshift.
And slice. So slice is basically the starting index. Starting index and end index. So it is similar to your string slicing in Python. Everyone might have done that. So this slices that array based on the indexes that we give, starting index and end index. Okay, excluding the end index. Exactly similar to the way the string slicing work. Suppose you have str and then you do something like this, right? 1 and then 5. So this is very similar to this slice. This is the Python. You all have done that. So very similar to that. Okay. Is this okay, slice?
Yeah.
So we have slice, concat. Any idea?
It adds.
Yes. So it adds two lists or not lists, arrays together. Okay. Then we have join. So join. So numbers.join. Have you used join?
DBMS.
Okay. So you use join to create one single string.
Okay.
And you give the separator. So if you want numbers.join with a colon, then you use this particular format. And if I use console.log, you can see all the numbers have been joined by the separator that I defined over here, colon. All right.
Any separator we can put here?
Yeah, anything.
Suppose you put ABC, then ABC will come in a.
Yeah, in between.
Okay, anything. Okay.
1 ABC, 2 ABC, 3 ABC, and so on.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is join. Reverse.
So its data type will also change, right?
Data type, as in like everything will be converted to a string. Yeah, so
Hello?
everything will be converted to a string. Hello? Okay. Then we have reverse, pretty self-evident what it does, reverses that array. Okay. Sort, sorts it. There's a catch with sort. Anyone knows? Does anyone know what the catch with sort is?
Sir, it treats as string.
Yes. So sort sorts it like a string. So think of it sorting it as a string. So if I say number and then print, so in this case it is already sorted as a string. So if I say how can I do that? So if I have one
Lexicographical sorting is done, right?
yes, lexicographical sorting. So if in this case, so if I have 11 over here, so this sort, what will this do? It will not change. Okay, let me do this. So if I do this and let me bring it down.
11132 will come.
Yeah. So just for comparison, what will happen when I do this and I print it out?
1113.
Okay. You can see it is sorted by lexicographical order. That is, it treats it as a string and then one comes first and then all the ones are first, then 1 1 1 1 3 2 4 and 5. So if you want to sort it as a number, you have to give it some more information. Basically, you have to tell it how do you sort it. So this is a comparator function. So you have to tell how to sort this A and B. So A and B, and then return A minus B. So if I do this, it will say, okay, compare it based on the value. So if you minus, so I'm actually a little bit confused about how exactly it happens. So basically there are three values, plus, minus, and 0. So if it is, you can read more about this. Right now it's not coming in my head what exactly
No,
happens.
if A minus B, if is A is greater than B, then it will come first.
Yeah, so if, yeah, so something like that. So if you give the value over here, what you want to sort it as, if you want to sort it as ascending order, you do A minus B. Want to sort it as descending order, you can say B minus A. And any other order you want to do, you can use this comparator function to set that order. All right. So for our use case, mostly it will be ascending or descending. That's it. So ascending, you do A minus B. Descending, you do B minus A.
Yeah.
All right. So this is how you sort the numbers if you want to do it in the logical number order. And apart from that, we have includes. Includes means it just checks if that that particular element is present in that array or not. So numbers dot include. If I say 1, it will return me true because right now 1 does not exist. Okay, so if I say 2, then it will return true because 2 exists. Okay, these are some of the functions that you should be aware of. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we have destructuring. So object destructuring. So this is an object. So these are some of the ES6 newer features, not exactly newer, 2016 features. We have to study here. So we have to extract a certain property from this person. To do that, so suppose I only need the first name and last name of this object. So this object might have hundreds of different properties. I just need the first name and last name. To do that, I use this particular syntax. I say const this object which has only the first name and last name of the person. So now if I say console.log first name and last name, it will say John and Doe. It will extract only those keys that I defined using this syntax. All right.
Once again, sir.
Okay. So this person is an object. It has a bunch of properties. It has, suppose, hundreds of properties. I
Yeah.
want to only get the property that I want. I know the names of the properties. know I want the first name. I know I want the last name of this person object. So to extract a particular property, I would say, so this object const or let whatever define with const. So basically first name, I know the property name of this object that I want, and last name equal to person. So when I do this, the first name and last name property, the values of those get you the a new variable first name and last name are created, and they get the value from the person's property. Person's first name will become this first name, person's last name will become this last name. Okay, this property, this value has to be the same as the person's property value, then only it will work. Okay,
Mm. Okay.
okay, this
Fine.
is how you extract specific properties from an object. So a bunch of ES6 syntax. Then we have spread operator. Spread means spreading, spread things out. So if I say what I want to do over here, I want to add certain more elements to an array here. So if I say spread dot 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 fruits, then think of it to the other array. So now this more fruits object, this array, will become apple, banana, orange, and grape. What are we doing? We're spreading the fruits array into a new array. So
Only
we are
three dots
creating,
are only three
yeah,
dots are compulsory.
only three dots.
Okay.
So what this will do, it will open up this array. It will place all the elements of the fruits array into this more fruits array. All right.
Positional value is there or not? Suppose fruits is inside
I want
orange
to
and
place it
grape.
over here. So orange will come first, and then all the fruits will be spread. So now apple and
Okay.
banana and grape.
Okay. Positional value is there, right?
Yeah. So we can have console.log. So many console.logs. Okay. More fruits. You see orange, apple, banana. Apple and banana came from the other one that we
Yeah, yeah.
spread. Okay, so you might see all these different syntax in the wild here and there. That's why it's important to know what these do. So this is okay. So here is the spread in an argument. So what this does, if you give multiple values over here, so in this case, multiple values over here, it takes it as an array, and now you can use it. Okay. So this first name that were taken, when I call this function, Alice becomes the name. And all of these different things that is taken by this hobbies. These hobbies becomes a array that stores all these different things that were given in the function argument. Okay. So two
What will
use
it
cases
print?
of Yeah, so in this case, when I console.log, so if I say greet, it says name is Alice, right? The first one, position, is name. All the rest are hobbies. Okay, all the rest are captured by this dot 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 spread hobbies. So it can also be used to capture all the different parameters that we give in an array. So the console.log would be Alice's hobbies is hobbies.join. We saw join now. What does join do? Hobbies is an array and dot join joins all the elements by the given separator. The separator here is comma and space. So all the hobbies will be separated by a comma and space. Okay. So Alice's hobbies are reading, coding, hiking, and so on. So two use cases of spread operator. One is to spread things out. So you have more fruit, you have fruits over here, and you're adding elements to a different array and then spreading it. Another one is to capture multiple different elements coming in. In this case, we are capturing all this, all the reading, coding, hiking, everything is captured by this hobbies. Since we are spreading it, now we can capture all this. If I say hobbies only, if I don't use spread, what would happen over here? Anyways, this won't work. But what value will hobbies get?
It would take the first after Alice. It would take reading.
Reading, right? If I say only hobbies, if I don't spread it, it only gets reading.
First one.
So if I want it to get all the different ones, if I want to make it an array, then I have to spread. I have to say, okay, whatever comes after the name, capture everything in an array and store it in hobbies array. Okay, that's what the spread is doing. All right. So these now comparison, coercion. So yeah, something that we should have defined first. Coercion, this comparison and coercion. Coercion is basically converting it into a different type and then checking it. So when I say double equal to, does it coerce or not? This is a loose equality.
It's not strict.
Yeah,
Loose equality means
coercion will be done.
Coercion will take place, and even though the data types don't match, even though that happens, we still try to check if both things are equal or not. I try to change one type into another and then check. So in this case, this will be equal. Okay.
True.
But if we have triple equality, that's when coercion does not take place, and we check everything if the data type as well as the value both matches or not. So this will be true and this will be false. All right. True and false. Fine. So some interesting examples just to blow your minds. This is nothing. This is pretty okay, right? This equals to false. What would happen here?
So it would print true because the condition is true.
Yeah. So empty arrays, empty objects are considered as falsy. So this equal to false, it will also print true. What about this one? Such questions won't come, but just I found an example, so put it over here. What happens? Okay, pretty hard to guess, but actually it gets converted into a number 5 and then 5 minus 3. So that gives out 2. Don't expect such questions. That is very tricky. No one's gonna ask you this. All right. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, what happens if another number is placed in the list?
Let's see that also, because there are a lot of weird things that happen in JavaScript. So all different combinations I don't know. So it gives you a nan, not a number. Okay, so you can see.
Okay, sir.
Coercion will not take place in all the cases. Sometimes it takes, sometimes it does not,
Yeah,
right?
so in this case it was possible to convert it into a number, but if you have two elements it was not possible.
Mm.
Okay, so this only comes, so even if you code a lot you won't get all these things. Only if you see some like weird Stack Overflow questions and all, then only you will see such examples over there, because no one's going to use this in normal coding, right?
Mm.
So okay, so next up let's go with nullless coalescence and optional chaining. So what this is basically, if you want to use, if you want to see except sometimes if you want to access a property, if you don't know that something exists or not, if a property exists or not, so that's when you can use this optional chaining. So what this basically is, just a this particular operator, question mark and dot. What this does, it s- first checks if this particular property exists. If it exists, then only it will access the dot age of that. If it doesn't exist, then it will not access that. All right. So the syntax is question mark and dot. So this asks if the details exist. If the detail exists, then access the age. If it does not exist, don't access it. It's pretty useful a lot of times. So in this case, details, does the detail exist in the user object? It does, right? So it will access the age. That will be 30. And in this case, does the address exist here? It does not. So it will not access the dot street. Okay, anyways, the return value is undefined.
You mean to
Is
say
it okay?
left of question mark, if it is true, then
Yes.
it will
If
go
it
to
is
the
true, then it will access the dot street, the next value.
Mm.
That is optional chaining. Okay. So next up, we have this nullless coalescence.
This is called chaining,
Yeah.
optional
So
chaining.
yeah. So it's optional chaining because if this is there, then do this, then access that. That's why. And you can have multiple like this. If the street exists, access something else, pin code, and so on.
Okay, more question marks can be used. Okay.
Yes. All right. This is nullless coalescence. So what is this? It's a double question mark. So basically, if this username exists, then take the username. If it does not exist, take the other one. So display name, if the username exists, then it will take the username. Otherwise, it will take anonymous. So in this case, it does not exist. So it will take anonymous display name. So if I print out console.log display name, then it will be anonymous. Because why? Because the username does not exist or it is false. If I say username is something, then it will take the username. Okay, so now display name is username something. Okay, these are some things that you see once and then you should not forget these things. Pretty simple. Okay, so next up, let's go on the slides. Okay, some more things about promises that we'll be discussing later on as well. Okay, and prototype based inheritance, that also have had some questions down below. Okay, anything else someone wants to discuss about this particular slide? All the topics?
For in, for off.
Okay, for in, for off. So these are basically used for these arrays and objects. So numbers equal to, suppose 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and one names. Let's not have names, something else. Cats. Okay, or animals. We have numbers. Have I defined numbers before? I think I have. Okay, so let me remove that. And I have animals. Dog, cat, cats are meow. Okay. Fine. So this for in and for off loops are used for specifically for collections. Things that have multiple things in it. Collections have multiple elements in it. So these are used for these. If I say the syntax is for const or let or var. In const something, so const like the element name x in numbers. So whenever I say in means the indexes. Okay, so for x in numbers, I'll print out console.log x. Okay, so it prints out the indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is it okay? Remember, in has an I in it, so that means the indexes it will print out. X becomes the indexes. All right. Same thing with animals. This is an object. So now it prints out the keywords or the properties, property names. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's what in does. When I say for something of gives the values in an array or the values in an object. Okay. So for const of, okay, so for this objects it does not work. Okay, that's why we have to use object dot entries and all. Okay, so again, to reiterate, for of does not work in objects. Okay, only works in arrays. So for this of numbers, so now it's okay, you can have all the numbers here. Of only works in arrays and other iterables. Object is not an iterable according to JavaScript, so it does not work. So how do I iterate over the elements? So you can have something like object dot entries or object dot values, and then have animals. Now you can access the animals, object dot values. Or if you want to have the key value pairs both, you can use object of entries. You'll get the key value pairs both. Okay, even I forgot. Of only works in iterables and object is not an iterable. So it works on arrays, sets, maps, things like that, but not in objects. All right.
Yes,
I hope that is okay.
Yeah. This is it.
Okay, so Off works in iterables, for us only arrays. Okay, so off means the values. When I say for x of numbers, x becomes the values here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Is that part clear?
X of numbers, it is coming, which,
Okay, this is not the numbers. The numbers were
okay,
different.
earlier number it is
Yeah.
coming, okay.
Okay.
Take this number, sir, so that,
Okay.
yeah, I think, yeah.
So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, for x. So whenever you see off means the values. When you say in means the indexes. When I say for x in numbers, then in becomes the indexes. So 0, 1, 2, 3,
0,
4.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Okay. X in numbers.
The in works same with objects. So if I say for x in animals, then it will give the keys. All right. Or the names of the properties: dog, cat, bird.
X
All right.
in. Yeah.
But
Key.
But as we saw previously, off directly does not work in objects. So if I say for x of animals, so you can't directly get the values. Okay, this will give you an error. So to get the values, what we do is use object.entries, another function, object.values. So this gives me a list of values, list of all these values. So you can have object.values animals. Now you can iterate over it. Now you can say for x of object.values animals. Now you can get good meow chirp. All right. So that's it for in for off loops.
A const x is required. Suppose we don't write const, then
No, you can still works.
why
Only
const?
the scoping, yeah, the same scoping rules apply. So if I say x of object, still works. Same scoping rule applies. If I say x, it also creates a global property over here. So I can have console dot log x. So you can see, I mean, global property is made if I don't use const. That's why we use const over here.
Okay.
Or let if you wish.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, other things, proto and all, I have more questions below that we'll see. Next up, we have front end and view introduction. So do you remember this? Ephemeral state, persistent, system state, application state. Okay, so you can go ahead, read it. The theory parts I won't be covering much. Mostly the explanation part. Okay, you can understand, there's videos on that. You can see what that is. View directives, web storage APIs. So the important concepts over here is what are data properties? How do you render certain data in an HTML? What are methods, computer properties, class binding, and multiple view instances? Okay, shall we look into that? I have another file over here, view.html. Okay. So this is my view file. Important thing to note over here is how do I render a element, a property, sorry, a data property over in HTML. So that is using the curly double mustache symbol, right? If I have a data property, I want to render it in HTML, that is using a curly braces. So this greeting will be the value of this hello view. All right. That's how you render things. Or also, what else can we use? Is there a directive? I feel like v text is there. So similar to this v text, or we either directly render it like this templating. So that's how you render things in the browser. Okay, what else do we have? We have v on or at, that is used to trigger some function or do some action based on a particular. So suppose if on a click I want to trigger a function. So if I say at click equal to change greeting, this change greeting function will be triggered, and this will change the greeting or whatever I want to show. And one more important one, vif. Vif is used to conditionally show some element or not. So if whatever I give here is true, then and only it will show the tag. Otherwise, it will hide the tag. All right, that is v. And what is the difference between vif and vshow? Does anyone know that? Okay,
So
so
the
both are
costing.
used. Sorry.
So the costing thing, render cost.
Yeah, but what exactly happens?
So in VF, it actually completely removes that particular element.
Correct.
So it takes more time. I mean, it takes. I mean, the cost for VF is more.
Right. So vifs removes the whole element from the HTML, whereas vshow base has that display property as none. Creates the CSS display property as none if it wants to remove that element. If it doesn't want to show that element, then it has a display property as none. Okay, so that is the difference. And this is the syntax that we follow. I've seen this a lot. And if I want to render it, okay, so if I click this button, what will happen? Change greeting. So in button we have at click change greeting. This is a function, and what will this do? This will change the greeting to welcome to view, and show message is true. So after I click this will change to welcome to view, and this will also show. All right, change the message, and the v if condition also became true. Is the general syntax okay? Everyone familiar with this? I hope so. Okay. So yeah, so next up, multiple view instances. So what happens in multiple view instances? Anyone has any idea? If I want to create multiple view instances, suppose this is an app, right? So if I create div and then id equal to app2, can I create multiple view instances? First question.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. If I can create multiple view instances, I can have new view new view, and then el will be app2. And let me render some greeting. Okay, so in here I have a greeting. So now this particular instance is mounted to app2. So everything inside app2 will be controlled by this view instance, and everything inside app will be controlled by the one below. So both can be handled simultaneously. If I
Sir,
see
one
here, so
small doubt, sir. What will happen if return statement is not included in data part?
that's a wrong syntax then. If I do this,
Oh, okay.
it's a wrong syntax, it won't work. Okay, you can see it's not working.
Okay, sir.
All right. So this is when you have multiple view instances. But what if my app2 was inside here? What would happen? What would happen?
So it's outside the scope. So when the app would be rendered, so once the app is rendered, app2 would be hidden. And when the app2 would come, it won't see it because it's inside the main app.
Hmm. Okay, let's see. You can see both are still there. Why would this happen? See, what happens here is this HTML is rendered from top to bottom. All right. So if you go from top to bottom, this div has been declared. Now this view instance is being mounted to this app. All right. This particular this element, this new view instance has been mounted to. So now everything inside this is being controlled by this view instance. All right. Everything else is still the same. It is HTML. And now the second view instance gets mounted. So now this particular thing is being controlled by the one below. So this does not affect anything. So everything here is being rendered. This is being controlled by view, this view app2 and the one below. So that's when it does not take effect. But the thing is, when if I do the same thing here, if I do it after this installation, after this script has been run, so what will happen here? In this case, this whole app has been controlled. This is being controlled by this view instance. Okay, but since it's been controlled, now this is not available to the next application, next view instance anymore. That's why now app2 won't be rendered. You can see hello, this greeting is not being rendered. Hello from our app dev is not being rendered. So whoever takes the first control, and if that control changes the div, so what is happening here? The first view instance is controlling this full div. So everything inside is being changed. It is not an HTML anymore. That's why app2 does not have access. The second view instance does not have access to this ID app2. So only app1, the app only gets rendered. All right. So depends on who is coming first. That's what happens in view instance. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Mhm. Okay. So next up, components, computer properties, dynamic class binding, ref attribute. Ref attribute we won't be discussing, not needed. Okay, components. How are things? How are component registered in Vue? What are components first of all?
A component is a piece of front end. We can say that piece of front end that can be used as many times is needed.
Yeah. So reusable piece of code
Yes.
that, yeah. So that has your HTML, a bunch of. Basically, a component is a piece of code that we can render. And how do we render it in the template? In the template, we use the
First,
syntax
yes.
like this, right? If I something like this, if I my name of the component is navbar, I say navbar something like this, and then this is how, like a normal HTML tag, but the name of the component we define it on our own. Okay, but to do this, to use this syntax, how do we register it? How do we register a component in Vue? So one is global registration, one is local. For global registration, we do something like view.component. Let's do it inside script. Okay. So we for a global registration. So global registration means now that component has been registered globally. Any component, any other component can use it. View.compo. Okay, view.component and give it the whatever component we have. So we have a component is basically an object which has data properties. Okay, that has data properties, that has functions and all such things. It has template, it has functions, it does things. Okay, so this is global registration. Another one is local registration. Can anyone tell me how to do local registration? So this one is global registration. So after global registration, any component can use the component that we define. All right. And local registration, anyone knows the syntax? Okay, so I'll tell you. For local registration, you have data, methods, CL, and so on, right? So another property we have components, and components is it an array? No, it is an object. Okay, let me just clarify this. It's an object on an array. Okay, where are components? Yeah, components in depth. Okay, so we saw this view.component, and where is the local registration? Yeah, so in this, so components is an object, and then we in this object we have component name and the actual component. All right, so it is like this: components, your name, and the actual object. Okay, that object can have data, methods, computed, and so on. All right, so this is local registration. After local registration, only the component in which this is defined. So in our case here, we can use this component. All right, local and global registration. Yeah, so next up, what are computer properties? Something that is derived from your data properties. So suppose if you have a list of all the prices, sort, if you want to somehow get the sorted prices, we don't want to create a different data property for that. Why not use that already existing data property and have a sorted data? So that kind of properties that are dependent on the data properties are computed properties. Okay, next up, all these things we did. Dynamic class binding. This is something important. So class can be binded in multiple ways. I have a bunch of code over here. Let's go over that.
Sir, which week till you cover?
Right now it's just week 4.
Oh. So today is till week 4, right?
Not, I want to cover more. Depends on how many of you are available.
Okay, sir.
It's already 11. Okay, let's try to cover more fast. Okay, for next class it will be questions. So you'll be solving questions. Okay, so anywhere more time was still there in this week 1 to 6, somewhere around that. Otherwise, mostly after that is mostly theory only. So week 9, 10, 11, 12, all theory. Okay, so class binding. So let's go over it very fast. Multiple ways to bind class. So if you say the name and then what is this? This is a property, data property. If it is true, this class will become this whatever the name. So if this is active is true, then the class will get the name active. All right, is this okay?
Yes, sir.
If you want to have multiple classes, you can have multiple classes in Java's in HTML, right? So you can put it in an array. In an array, you can put and dynamically have certain classes rendered based on the value of these properties. So if is active is true, then it will get the value of active. If is highlighted is true, then it will get the value of highlighted. All right. So this is the syntax. In an object, we have the key and the value. If the value is true, then the class will get the value. 'Cause the class will be the key. Similarly, we can do with the computed also. So this computed class can be an object. So you can
Uh,
see.
Sir, go
Yeah.
above.
Yes.
In that uh, active and colon and boolean value, in place of boolean value, we can add a condition.
You can add a condition. Yes, definitely. You can add a condition there.
Okay.
Okay, but single line condition, not like a multi-line.
Yes, sir. Only equation one is equal to one.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. You can do that. Okay, so this is if you want to have multiple classes, you can have them an array. If you want to dynamically render a class, you can have it in an object. Okay, and you can also in that array also you can have a single line. So this is this ternary operator, right? If this is disabled is true, then it will get a value of disabled. If this is disabled is false, it will get the value of primary button primary. All right.
Yes.
So this is normal JavaScript, and you can do that. So this is class binding, multiple ways to bind class, arrays, objects. All right. And everyone knows how to pass props in components. So we have component, suppose. So to pass props, first of all, in the components, we define props. It can be an array and an object, and the name of the prop. So suppose I want to have a dog name. So when you are rendering this component, suppose the name of the component is something like navbar. Then I would say dog equal to Tommy. Okay, so now this dog prop, this particular dog underscore name should be there. Yeah. So dog name will become Tommy under this component. And I can use the dog name variable. This is props. Okay. Watch using props to pass data. Watchers are functions which are triggered every time a data property is changed. Okay, here we have certain more concepts here. Promises are very important. Let's see some questions on that. And the chaining dot catch dot finally, you would have seen that in quiz 2 as well.
Yes, sir. More tricky question on that, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go over that. Might have some here. Okay. So one particular thing is here. So this is something related, not chaining per se. This is more related to event loop. So in event loop, what happens? The synchronous code is executed first, then the asynchronous code is executed. So look at the question, look at this, and tell me what will be rendered first, or what will be the order of the rendering.
Mm, first
One,
it will
sir.
be 1, then
Okay.
7,
1,
1, then 7,
7, everyone agrees. Then
then 2,
okay.
Then
Any other
3
guesses
should
about
be.
it? You're saying 3. Okay. Next up. So we have a doubt here whether 2 will be rendered first or 3 will be rendered first.
Yeah.
then 6, sir.
Then
Yes,
6.
yes.
And why did you skip all this?
Then after 3, 4, and 5.
After
After 6,
3. Okay. So, yeah. So, first and 7. That is very clear.
yes, sir.
Everything is a promise. So, that will be rendered later on.
Hmm.
So, here another concept comes in. Promises get resolved first. I mean,
See, promises
promise.
have higher priority.
Yes, promises have higher priority compared to set timeout or set interval. These
Sir,
are
I
called.
have doubts, sir. Sir, how after one before two should come, no, sir? How someone is coming?
Oh, we have a set timeout. So whenever you
So it
will
is
have set,
default zero, no, sir. So it will
yeah,
execute,
even
right?
if the default is 0, it still goes into that whole event loop cycle.
Q, Q, Q.
Okay, directly does not happen. It still goes into that event loop cycle. And that's why it is rendered later on. First, all the synchronous code is run. So synchronous is this log and this log.
Oh, okay, sir.
All right. So whenever we are talking about promises versus these set timeout and set intervals, always remember promises will be taken higher priority than set interval, set timeout. These are called micro tasks. Promises are actually called micro tasks. So these are whenever there's an option of this promises versus set timeout, set interval, promises will take the priority. Okay,
Mm.
so if we consider that promises take priority, then what will happen?
After 7,
After
3,
this,
and 5.
3
Yeah.
and 5,
5.
4, because another set timeout is triggered now. Okay, another set timeout has been started.
Then sir 2, 5, then 4.
Okay, then 2, then
6.
5. No,
5 you
5
already
no,
already
rendered.
no.
updated. Yeah. 2, 6, 4.
2, 6, 4. Yes, sir. 2, 6, 4.
Okay, 2, 6, 4. Okay, let's see. Okay, so you were right. 1, 7 synchronous code, then promises 3 and 5,
In that
and
promises.
yeah, and then your set timeouts in the order that they came in. So in the order was set timeout, this one came first, right?
Hmm.
Then
Yes.
this one, and then this.
Then this. Yes.
All right, is everyone okay? And let me remove that 1 to
Yes.
70. Okay, be mindful about promises. Certainly there will be a question. Okay, so again, traditional promises. Okay, let's not do this. Not really that important. Uh, okay, okay. Since it's still there. Okay, dot then chaining is there, right? Okay, so what happens here? There's a function here, fetch user data, that takes in user ID and returns the promise. In that new promise, again, you have to be very careful. Sometimes like who are the question setters would
Yes,
swap this out, resolve and
yes.
reject.
Reject and resolve.
Always remember the first one is resolve, second one is reject. And these are functions. When you call these functions, the promise will either get resolved or rejected based on which one you called. Okay. So what happens when this function is triggered? After 1 second, the set timeout is executed. In this, you have if user ID is there, then we resolve it using the ID, this particular ID. Otherwise, we reject it. And in when we are calling this function, what are we doing? We are giving this a user ID of 123 and using dot then and dot catch. So since we have given 123, what will happen to the promise?
It would resolve.
Re- Resolve, sir.
Yes. Okay. So it will resolve. And which one will execute? The dot
Then block, sir.
then
Then
obviously then will execute and log user. So user was the what was user? This
Zone
full
12.
object. This full object. So it will log that.
Oh, pardon, sir. Once again.
So promises, how do you make a promise? Using a new promise constructor. Takes in two callback functions, resolve and reject. Order, you have to know what the order is. That is important. So here what we are doing is calling this function with a user ID of 123. So in my promise function, what was the condition? If I have a user ID, then we resolve it. If we don't have a user ID, we reject it. Okay. So since we resolved it, this object is when we resolved it, we have a then, right? And whatever we pass here, whatever variable we give here, that is captured by whatever is gotten by the resolve. In this, the resolve has the full object in it. So this user becomes this full object. And when we log the user, you can see the object is here, the ID and the name. All right. What happens if I don't give the user ID?
so it would reject and it would go to the catch block. Since you don't have another inside, then you don't have the second to catch the
Right. So
reject
it
block.
will go to the reject block, and in the reject, it will throw a new error, and then error console.error error. Okay. After 1 second, you can see invalid user ID. And if we had another callback here,
Invalid user ID means which ID it is not taking.
so that's
Error.
what we defined here. When we said new error here,
Okay, same text which is coming.
this text. Okay. So another question here: if I have a different callback in the dot then, you have console dot log error. Okay, what will happen here?
So you would go to the second callback of the then, since you have
Okay.
catcher there.
Okay. So everyone agrees? This is rejecting since I don't have a user ID.
Yeah.
Okay, so dot then the first will not execute. Second one will execute if I have a second callback function. And console.log
Then
error.
catch is not needed, right? Yeah, in this case.
No, it is not needed. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Just gave an example.
What it will print? Invalid.
Invalid user ID. All right.
Yes, sir.
So everything else is just an extension of this. Either have two callbacks and then, or just have one callback. And you can chain as many as dot thens dot catch here. All you have to worry about is the promise rejected or resolved?
When it is reject, then a small ERR and capital error. So it is an object. ERR is an object.
ERR is my user defined variable.
Okay.
Okay. So when I say reject new error, it says,
Yeah.
okay, I have an error.
A
Error with
second
the string.
parameter always goes to the catch, right?
Yeah. So when you reject it, it
Yeah.
has the second parameter. It runs the second callback function. If I
It is
don't have it, then it will go to the catch.
an alternative way to use a catch in then.
Yes. But ideally, when you're coding it, don't use this kind of format. Either it's better to use dot then for only handling success, dot catch for only handling errors.
Yes.
Okay. So this is your dot then dot, and we have a dot finally as well. So dot finally executes no matter what.
It's
Okay, this
always
one.
run.
Yeah. Doesn't matter it is rejected or resolved. Okay, so this will run anyways even after catching that error. After that error, it still runs dot finally. Okay. And the same thing with async await you can do. You can await for the promise to either reject or resolve and accordingly print whatever. So async await is more of a like a synchronous way of doing the same thing. If you're yeah, so this is a promise, right? Fetch user data. You're awaiting for it. So if you get a success, this user becomes this value. Otherwise, you get a error. And this will catch an error. So basically doing the same thing with try and catch. Okay, but I've not called it anywhere. So if I call get user data, user info 1, 2, 3, then it will go to the success. It will log the user. Otherwise, if I don't do that, if I don't give it, it will throw new error. And then this catch block will catch that error. Okay, more of a synchronous looking way of doing asynchronous task. All right,
So
so
it would
that
be the
was
synchronous inside that async function, right? So the moment, let's say, you put a console.log after the function call. So the moment await hits, it goes to the micro task queue. In the meantime, the global execution context would get
no.
executed,
Async await does
isn't
not
it?
wait like that. So await means stop the execution at this point unless that promise is resolved or rejected. That's what
But
happens
sir,
here.
that part is clear. But sir,
Yeah.
that thing would stop there, isn't it? I mean, it would wait for the response, and
Hmm.
everything in the global execution context would get printed, right? So if you
Correct.
uh,
Correct. Definitely.
add a console.log
Yeah.
after
If
the
I have a
function call,
console.log here, correct.
so that would be printed first, and then my
Yes.
resolve or reject would be there. So my
Correct.
question is that.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right. So if you see end got printed first and then yeah, definitely. All right. Okay. So we are in week 5, week 6. Important things we have. Yeah, so form validation. Okay, persistent storage in browsers. So we have session storage, local storage. IndexedDB would not cover much, only the theory part. So the difference between session storage and local storage is session storage is only active act- uh, when your browser is open. If you close the browser, your session will be gone. Session storage will be gone. And how do you set session storage and local storage? You use something like this JavaScript. For session storage, you have session storage dot set item, the key and the value. Okay, all right. If I want the value to be something like an object, what I can do is json.stringify. So I can make it a string. I can make an object like a string. So if I have email, blah blah blah, name, and
So
so
that
on.
session storage does not stores JSON or object by default.
Yeah, both session storage as well as local storage. So we
They
should
don't
stringify
store.
it.
Okay, we have to convert into a string.
I mean, like it works most of the times, but still better to stringify it
Okay, sir.
to make it 100% sure. Even if you do this, I think it will work because I previously tried it. It worked. Let's see that.
Best practice is to stringify.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I go here in the application tab, where is
So
it
you
gone?
could print it in the console, right, using session storage.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to show it like this. We have here.
In sessions.
Yeah, so you can see this key got printed over here. Even if I don't use this, might work. Okay,
Object.
it does work, but it says object. Okay, so it's not actually working. Let's see. Console.log.
Get item.
Okay, get item key. And let's see what is there in the console. Okay, so it's not working. So better just to stringify it.
Okay, sir.
I've previously seen it work sometimes. Not sure when it works, when it does not. So now it should work. Okay, so now you have the string. And if you want to convert the string back to a object, how would you do that?
JSON.parse.
JSON.parse.
Yeah, json.parse. So now it becomes an object and you can access it like an object. So now the font also changes, says it's an object. Okay, so this is mostly where we use stringify, and not mostly, even in API calls also we use stringify and parse. Okay, same thing with like local storage. Same way to set item, get item. And also, yeah, so same way to do these things. Only difference is session storage, when you close the browser, everything disappears. Local storage, it's still there even after closing the browser. Okay, does anyone remember what this is? At submit.prevent.
So it would prevent its default. It's like prevent default. So the moment we click on the submit button, it won't submit actually. So it won't go to the back end. So it's just preventing
Right,
the default thing.
exactly. So whenever we make a form and have a submit button, so by default, HTML has that feature that whenever you're clicking that submit button, it will automatically have a post request to the current URL or whatever URL you have posted. But in Vue, we don't want that. In Vue, we want things to be controlled by Vue. We want all the API calls, everything to be routed through Vue, not directly through HTML. That's why you use in forms, we use add submit.prevent and equal to whatever function you want to trigger. I can see view method that you want to trigger. So now it will prevent that default behavior of form. Is okay. So I'm a little confused. It is a post request or a get request. So you doesn't matter that much, but it prevents that default behavior. Okay. So next up, view router. View router. Have I created anything? Okay, I've not created anything for view router per se. So Basically, for Vue router, the important things are what is a router view? Router view is where your components are rendered. What is being seen there? Router link. Router link is the like the nav, and you have to define where after clicking this, where does it redirect to? So you can have something like okay. So if I write it in templates, okay. Whenever I say router view, so this is where all the data that is coming from the router, so all the component that the router is showing, that will be rendered at this place. Whatever I have above it will still be rendered. Only thing that changes is this router view when you change the routes. Okay, and to redirect to different routes, we can have something like router link, and then it takes an attribute 2. 2 means where do you want to redirect to. So after clicking this, I want to go to home. So slash home, if I want to go to, I mention slash home. Okay, so these are two things to render and to redirect to different pages. And how do I create those router pages or components? So let me write it over here. So we have a routes, that's an array, and it has a bunch of objects in it. So first of all, it takes a path. Path would be what is your URL. That will be key value pairs. Okay, path will be your URL, and a component that will be your object, or like the full. Suppose I have a navbar component, although I don't have it yet. Okay, so something like const navbar equal to object and a template with it. Okay, so this is how you create routes. So for this is the basic structure. At least you need a path and a component. You can have more things as well, but this is the minimum things required. URL, the path for which this component will be rendered. You will have multiple things like this. And this will be a sidebar. All right. So this is how you define paths or routes. And now, how do you define the actual router that renders all this? So new and then pass in your routes. Okay. Is the syntax correct? I'm a little not sure about the syntax. Is it new view router or view router? Can anyone clarify this? Okay, let me see. You
I am practice on Vue CLI, sir, so that I don't know.
okay? Even here it is view CLI only. Okay, so anyways, yeah, new view router, same thing. Const router equal to new view router. Okay, this is how you create the router. And then this router object has to be placed in, I have to be placed here in the base view. So I have to define router is there. Now this thing is fully working. Okay, so this is the important concepts over here. Uh, Apart from, can you mute yourself?
Shrikant sir.
Okay. Yeah, Shrikant sir, can you mute?
I think Shrikant sir is not there.
Okay, no problem. All right. So this is how your connection happens. You use this object router over here, and then this connection happens. So in the path, you can have it like this. Also, you can have a wildcard path as well. So if you give star, it will match to anything that is not existing. Okay, so this is a wildcard. So that means this particular path will match to something that is not existing there. Suppose you
I
have a,
think sir in Vue 3 it is not working.
yeah, in Vue 3 it does not work.
Yes sir.
Yes, in Vue 2 this works.
This one.
Never had the same issue there.
Yes.
Okay. So we are specifically studying Vue 2 in this course. That's why we have to know
Okay sir.
this wildcard syntax. All right. That's it for Vue router. Nothing much here. One more thing was, how do you access? So you can have the dynamic route matching, right? So if you have something like ID, if you say this, then this ID would be passed as a route params. Okay, to access this ID, so colon ID, that means the URL2 and then
Slash then ID.
oh, slash then ID.
Yes sir.
All right. So in this case, how do you access this? You can have dollar sign to access this inside your sidebar component. You can use dollar sign router dot params dot id to access this particular ID that you got from here. Okay, yeah. So that's it for Vue router. Pretty simple, but you need to practice. I've just explained it like
Answer is this
briefly.
ID part, how to do this. This is slash. After slash colon comes or without slash? This URL2.
Let me confirm that. Better to confirm.
What is the actual syntax? We are
So say if you're binding over some user, so let's say slash user, so it would be slash user ID. So after slash you are binding on ID.
Okay, so that would be
that is not the
slash
binding,
colon
perhaps.
ID.
Slash
So
is
it will
there.
be use slash user slash ID.
Slash ID.
Okay.
And
then to grab hold of this ID, you can use this syntax dollar router dot param dot ID. Or if you're in your methods or properties, you can have this dot dollar sign router. Okay, either this or if you're in templates, you can use this syntax. All right. Here we have that.
Sir, in previous slide, what is SFC?
A single file component.
Okay, single file.
That is what you're doing when you're using Vue CLI.
Yes, sir.
At .vue files.
Yes. Okay, sir.
Okay, so we have Vuex here. Vuex, pretty simple, same thing. You have the store, Vuex store. It has state, it has actions, mutations, Actions, mutations. One more thing. What was like computer properties? I'm forgetting.
So we had
Okay.
getters actually.
State, action,
Yeah, state.
action, mutation, and one thing.
Yeah, one thing that is more like a computer property.
Hmm.
Okay, so basically what happens, actions are asynchronous. Don't have to be, but anything that is asynchronous should happen in an action. So action will trigger a mutation, and mutation will commit the state. Okay. So basically actions, the word there is dispatch. You dispatch an action, that action will trigger a mutation, that mutation will change the state. Okay. So
To
you
change
commit mutations,
the data in states, only have the permission given to
mutations.
mutation.
Yes. So only mutations should change the state. So the keyword there is dispatch action, commit mutation. Okay, that's what we use.
And one getter, sir.
Yeah. So what was that? Vux. Okay, so this diagram is also important. Not this one, the other one. Yeah. So this is Vux. You dispatch an action, you commit a mutation, and that mutation changes the state. And this is happening in the view component. Yeah. So we have getter, state, mutations, and modules we did not cover, so we don't need it. All right. So getters are akin to computed properties. And that's it for Vuex. It just stores a global kind of state for everyone to use.
Like general store.
Yeah. All right. That is Vuex. And this is mostly theory. A theory about RESTful APIs. How should APIs be? Meaning, so suppose you have REST APIs, you what should be the exact, if you're posting, what should be the function, if you're using put method, if you're using get, post, put,
Delete.
patch, delete, what should that happen, what should be done for each http verb, that is important, what should be the naming convention of APIs. Okay, things like that.
Sir, what
Authentic
is GraphQL, sir?
GraphQL is a different kind of, like, you have done SQL now. So GraphQL is something like that. What it does is, right now, if you have to make your backend APIs, you have to manually say, okay, for what data you have to give, you have to manually define that data, right? If you want to give the, suppose there are songs, if you want to give the song name, the length of the song, you have to manually define it.
Hmm.
But what GraphQL allows you to do is have a general state. These things are available to you, and using that, the front end or the one who is fetching that can ask you what kind of data you want. So suppose your front end only asks, okay, I just want the length of the song, the name of the artist.
Hmm.
So your backend will only give that data, and you don't have to have different API for all this different data. You can pick and choose what data you want from the front end. That is kind of
Reduces
mm,
the data
yeah.
over
So
a
only
network.
pick and choose the necessary data, and you don't have to do much in order to implement that. That is pretty good GraphQL, but only is effective when you have a large amount of data.
Sir, we can implement in Mato project.
And no, you'll have to use SQL,
Yes.
SQLite.
Oh, acha. GraphQL is like a database.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay. Other than that, best practices. Yeah, best practices are important. You should have nouns as verbs. nouns. Like if you have APIs, you should, instead of having, suppose I want the names of the artists, so instead of having artist, you have to have artists, things like that. So you will see that in week 8, you will see all that naming conventions and all. You can go in the theory and see that. Okay, week 9, web servers, task queue, message queue, pull queues, all the implementations of message brokers. So what are the different kinds, how does they work, what are webhooks, what else are there? uh, okay, so we advantages of different queues. So we have push queues, pull queues. Okay, just read upon that theory part, what exactly they are. How to send data from client to server, from server to client, and so on. So both ways, if you want to travel, you have web sockets. If you want the data being sent from server to client, then you have,
SSC, sir.
yeah,
Server sent events.
server sent events, and so on. And read upon the theory of Celery and Redis. Redis theory is also very important. What exactly is Redis, how it works? Basically key value pairs, in memory storage. They can also be used as database, and so on. What is the use case of these?
Fastest query, sir.
Yeah, very fast queries, immediately. Okay, so here we have this, users and different users and working with different type of servers.
The theory parts will ask only the questions of the theory based or the implementation of such theories in the code also.
So everything would be theory except for certain things. So certain things like what has sir sir has some the live session recordings, right? Not live session recordings, screencasts. Okay,
It's
so in the
screencast.
screencast there are certain things like there's a implementation of webhooks, and there are some things. So whatever is there in the theory, this recorded ones, that is what we can ask. Other than that, we don't ask.
Okay.
Okay, so like all these things, lightweight APIs, message queue and task queue, they have not implemented in the recorded screencast, so we don't ask that. Okay, distributed system, client servers, all the theory parts you have to be aware of, and just go through all these. Yeah, so this can have an impact. Cache dot cached, cache dot memorize. What is the difference between these two?
So memoized is used for parameterized function.
Correct.
So we can
Okay.
pass the parameter.
Yeah. So if you want to memorize, if you want to cache based on the function parameter, then use cache.memorize. If you just want to cache it based on the function has been triggered or not, then use dot cached. Okay, and what are the different concepts here? Vertical and horizontal scaling. Vertical means keep on increasing the power of whatever computer you're using. Horizontal means having multiple different computers. Okay, you can go through all these. Caching is really important. Can have code based questions on these.
We have to implement caches in Mato projects, right?
Yes, you have to. Also, it's very easy to implement that. It's just one line.
Okay. What it helps, sir?
Caching basically means you are storing that data. So
Some
suppose,
temporary.
storing that data for some temporary amount of time. So what happens if you have very multiple calls in the same APIs? Then if you want to send the same data to everyone, each and every request will have certain cycle. So you have to process the data and all. So why not keep that data stored somewhere,
For some
so
times.
that for the next request, I already did the processing once, right? So for the next request, why not send the same data to that person, to the another person? That's what caching does.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and week 12 is about security, multiple types of attacks. So, what attacks were discussed? So, we have distributed, mm, and I think, yeah, distributed, what is it?
Denial of
DDoS
service.
attacks, denial of service attacks. We have SQL injection, and so on, like multiple different kinds of attacks talked about. So, talked about those. For cores, what are the headers required? So we have some cross origin, what is accepted, what is not.
What
Yeah,
can you go through the some topics from week 12?
some topics. Yeah, these are the topics we talked about: the front end security, back end security. So for front end, mostly CSRF is fine, cross site request forgery. So we should know what these topics means, what CSRF means, what access means.
CSP.
CSP is a policy, content sharing policy. It's not a attack per se.
Mhm.
It's like, what are the policies that are implemented to mitigate all these attacks?
Okay.
Okay, and cores is again kind of a policy that restricts access from access the data, the resources from one server to another server. Okay, so that is cross origin request sharing. So usually that is off, so that one server cannot access the data from another one.
Hmm.
Okay, and for backend we have all these, and backend validation also. So that is skill injection comes in the backend validation. Okay, so this is it for the session. Took a long time today.
What is
Any
DDoS?
DDO DDoS is distributed denial of service. So basically, what happens is, if you have multiple requests on the same server, suppose a server can handle 1,000 requests. What happens if 10,000 requests comes in? So no one gets a service.
Oh.
That server crashes, can't handle all that traffic. That is denial of service. The D before it, distributed, means it is being attacked from multiple all over the world. Okay, these things are very interesting if you go into deep.
DDoS. Sir, we can where we find this seat, sir? Where we find seat?
This particular one.
Yes, sir.
That I'm showing now.
Yeah.
Okay, I had actually shared it.
Share it.
Yeah, GraphQL is really interesting. You should explore that. Science says Facebook did something good, that is GraphQL. Yeah, definitely agree.
After any term.
What, after this term?
Yes, after the
Yeah.
intern. We have
Okay, sure, definitely.
break session.
Okay. So yeah, that's it for the session. Anything else? Okay, right. This
Sir,
is
will they
all.
ask any questions regarding course? I mean, coding questions.
Another revision session is also there in the last.
Yes, another revision session is there. That will be
What will be
mostly
covered?
code
What
based.
will be covered in that? Code based.
Same thing. Right now, I just gave you an overview of what was there. Now, so in that session, there will be actual code questions.
Okay.
Basically, mock questions.
Okay.
That you will go through. Okay. So what was another thing that Sanjita? Did you ask that?
Sir, will they ask course questions, sir?
Course, CORS.
Yes, sir. Coding questions based on that.
No, only coding be a question based on what was done in the recorded ones.
Oh, okay, sir.
Screencast and recorded lectures. So course was not done, right? No coding was done based on course.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, my Viva is on day after day. Sir,
Hmm.
what should I do, sir, for that, sir? Because my English is not much fluent. Uh, in
We don't test you on English.
hmm?
We are testing based on what have you implemented or not. So that
Level
L2
two
Viva, right?
Viva, sir. Level two
Hmm.
Viva.
Okay. So level 2 Viva. Yeah. So you'll have to explain. Like basically, the examiner will ask you like some kind of deep questions based on your project and so on. Might also need to change some code as well. So if you're good with coding, that should be enough. English is not a requirement.
Yeah, in such case, I am not comfortable in English. Should I speak in Hindi for some time?
Yeah, you can ask a